country an icon of independence for many nations. And migrant deaths in the Mediterranean said to mark failings in the European Union's policy. Greetings everyone and a very warm welcome to Addis News Hour with the news I'm Shifarao Rakal. The House of People's Representatives in its 13th regular session held today has scrutinized and approved the resolution passed by the Council of Ministers last week to designate Shene and TPLF as terrorist organizations unanimously. The Parliament has also discussed various other issues. The Joint Security Task Force said in a statement that some extremist members of the diaspora have been working to disrupt the 6th national elections by providing financial and logistic support to the extremists. According to the statement, action is being taken against these organized groups, leaders, and illegal weapons prepared for the mission, as well as various information and evidence related to their mission. The Joint Task Force said in a statement that the groups, both inside and outside the country, have been secretly collaborating with members of the political and security structures and government to carry out their plans to disrupt the national election by plotting to assassinate key leaders. The Ethiopian President Sahle-Work Zewde is in Niger for GERD and other current issues talks with the country's president. On her arrival in Niamey, she was welcomed by Nigerian Prime Minister Mahamudu Buhari. The purpose of the president's visit to the country is to hold talks with the president of Niger on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and the current situation in the state of Tigray. In addition to the president, the Minister of Water, Irrigation and Energy, Sleshi Bekele, is expected to provide information on Ethiopia's position on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and the current status of the dam. Now, moving on, Ethiopians who have never lost a battle in history will always win any war waged against them as long as they stand united and remain vigilant. This was disclosed at the 80th anniversary of Patriots' Victory Day, which was vibrantly marked yesterday here in the capital, Addis Ababa. The story is presented as follows. After the Battle of Adwa, that had dealt a crushing blow to the Italians, Fascist Italy began to invade Ethiopia, which again resulted in its defeat thanks to the gallantry of Ethiopian patriots maintaining territorial integrity and national independence. The 80th anniversary of Patriots' Victory Day was vibrantly marked in Addis Ababa, commemorating this victory. Addis Ababa Deputy Mayor Adanej Abebe has laid a wreath of flowers to commemorate the fallen patriots for the only independent nation in Africa. The president of the ancient Ethiopian Patriots Association, Vijay Jyoti Mesfin, on the occasion called on the young generation of Ethiopia to keep the sovereignty of Ethiopia as handed down by the patriots.
It is your forefathers and foremothers' sacrifice, bravery, and determination that have helped set free the continent of Africa from the yoke of slavery and colonial rule. My brothers, sisters, and my children, if you like my boss and government officials, please pay close attention to what I say. Let's be one and create a better and loftier country.
The courageous patriots have also advised fellow citizens to keep their unity and solidarity against potential intruders.
Our enemies never sleep. Bearing this in mind, we have to cooperate, and when we stand united, no one will dare invade us. Ethiopia has never lost any battle in its history, so all we need to do is standing in unison to protect our country against enemies. I remember the indomitable young Ethiopians who never cared about wearing shoes or caps for that matter, bravely chasing the surrounding enemies with their swords. Our enemies are currently scattering seeds of racism among us and trying to wound Ethiopia. Ethiopia will not tolerate such provocation.
The Deputy Mayor of Addis Ababa has advised the current generation to preserve the courage of the victory of the patriots and stand united to defend national interests. In another development, historians say Italy's attempt to invade Ethiopia failed after the victory of Adwa, thanks to their united efforts. Now, Ethiopians must strengthen their unity to end the false propaganda being spread by foreign powers. Although the Italian army committed atrocities at the time, Ethiopians were able to uphold their sovereignty and dignity with concerted efforts. Goshuman Sel tells you more on that.
After the invading Italian army defeat by patriots in the Battle of Adwa, 40 years later the First Army came to invade Ethiopia, but the invader rooted out by indomitable forefathers.
Ethiopians from all walks of life were fighting the well-armed Italian troops in sword and backward weapons. Even though the Italian army used chemical bombs, Ethiopian patriots did not see the attack crossing their hands, rather they fought bravely without fear. Ethiopians paid huge sacrifice in Maijo in northern Ethiopia.
Although the Italian army committed atrocities at the time, Ethiopians were able to uphold their sovereignty and dignity with concerted efforts, the historian explained.
Despite the Italian army committed heinous attack at the time, the army were unable to break the people's morale. The Italians who were unable to resist Ethiopians' infantry were supported by poisonous gases. Finally, the Italian army began killing the cattle because they believed that Ethiopians will get starved and stop fighting. But the people moved the cattle to the forest and burrows.
Now Ethiopia is facing false propagandas from foreign and domestic forces, and the scholars said Ethiopians should take lessons from their forefathers and unite to foil the conspiracy.
Currently, various diplomatic pressures are coming from foreign and local forces. Developing natural resources like the GERD is related with sovereign rights. Some superpower countries are trying to twist our hands and manipulate Ethiopia on behalf of mediator. We should not accept this. All Ethiopians should unite and refuse such intimidations through taking lessons from our fathers, and we have to struggle them diplomatically.
The 80th anniversary of the Patriots' Victory Day has been celebrated colorfully on Wednesday.
Ethiopia is the source of the Blue Nile and contributes over 85% of the Nile's stream flow. To this day, Egypt and Sudan are using 100% of the water, sticking to their 1959 colonial agreement between them. Not being signatories, Ethiopia and other upstream states do not recognize this agreement. Ethiopia is at the eve of completing the Great Renaissance Dam. Costing over $5 billion that is being paid by ordinary Ethiopians. This dam will generate 5.1 gigawatt of power, and it is a non-consumptive, eco-friendly, existential necessity to millions. The three countries have been in dispute over the construction, filling and operation of this dam. Even thought this dam provides major benefits to Sudan and Egypt in terms of reducing evaporation loss, silt, sedimentation and unexpected flood. This dam is not just about generating power. It is a matter of survival for millions of Ethiopians who deserve a dignified life as their Egyptian counterparts.
Welcome back. You're still watching IDZ News Hour. The newly ambassador of Ethiopia to Turkey, Adam Mohammed, has presented his letter of credence to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the presidential complex in Ankara. President Erdogan underlined that the great importance his country attaches to its relationship with Ethiopia. He emphasized that the two countries should make use of the wide range of economic, cultural, and diplomatic opportunities that exist between them to bring their cooperation to the highest level. Ambassador Adam, on his part, lauded the strategic partnership that exists between Ethiopia and Turkey, and he expressed his readiness to further consolidate the excellent bilateral partnership of the two countries. The Deputy Chief of Somali State, Mustafa Umar, along with other high-level regional officials, has inaugurated an oxygen plant that has a capacity of producing 200 cylinders of oxygen per day. The inauguration of the oxygen plant comes at a time when the pandemic is rapidly increasing and number of deaths from the virus is rising in the country. Addressing the inauguration ceremony, the Deputy Chief said the plant will have a crucial role in addressing pandemic-induced oxygen shortage in the region and the country at large. Medical institutions in the region were getting oxygen from Addis Ababa, 622 kilometers from the regional capital, Jigjiga. It was indicated at the inaugural ceremony. Now, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, has recognized Ethiopia's achievements in adopting a new media law as a tool to ensure freedom of expression. While addressing the World Press Freedom Day, UNESCO representative to Ethiopia said that the organization acknowledges Ethiopian government's adhering to keeping the rights of freedom of expression. It also initiated wide-range reforms such as legal, media, law, and others. 2 years ago, Ethiopia was chosen to host a global conference on the media in Addis Ababa, a partnership with African Union and the UNESCO. The government of Ethiopia took a number of important measures aimed at enhancing freedom of expression and media freedom in Ethiopia, including releasing of journalists from prison and blocking of new websites and social media.
Here I am in the Kalahari Desert in South Africa. I'm actually in the Kalahari Frontier Park, which is in a remote part of Northern Cape. It's about as far into South Africa as you get. We're bordered on one side by Botswana and on the other side by Namibia. This is the most beautiful region. It is everything you expect a desert to be, but with African animals. And we've seen a hell of a lot. We've seen lions, we've seen giraffe, we've seen an abundance of springbok and oryx. Today I've been and I have visited a Bushman's village. The Bushmen were there in their native dress, explaining their way of life with us, and I can tell you it's quite a frugal way of life. And their lifestyle may be simple, but it seems to be that they're very, very happy people.
Then now we are back in our place where we was Bushman.
And finally, in our continental news, various Africans die in the most horrible migrant tragedy trying to reach Europe's shores. The European Union's border agency didn't respond to their attempt for safe arrival, and more than 20,000 migrants or asylum seekers have perished since 2014 and has renewed accusations that European countries are failing to sufficiently help migrant boats in trouble. Kasam Chan has more on that from Africa News.
Mubarak Jabir, 23, from Sudan, Saita from Libya, trying to reach Europe's shores. Said the conditions after the Sudanese revolution became worse than before, at a high cost of living, no employment, no jobs, and many more. European Union's border agency went largely unresponsive. International maritime law dictates migrants should have been saved, but many are dying in the Mediterranean. An analysis of the logs and emails from Alarm Forum and Diana Joe, as well as reports by the Libyan Coast Guard, showed that the national authorities responded slowly, inefficiently, or not at all. In all, approximately 130 people are believed to have died between 21st and 22nd April are diverted in van for someone to save them, roughly 45 kilometers, 30 miles from the Libyan coast. Jabir, the eldest of 7 brothers, had quit his economics studies at university and left Sudan looking for employment in neighboring Libya a year and a half earlier. There he worked small jobs in construction to send money back to his relatives struggling in Sudan's deteriorating economic crisis. But it still wasn't enough, so he contacted smugglers and boarded the ill-fated migrant boat looking to head to Europe.
The high cost of living, no employment, no jobs. He is the eldest of his brothers. He is working to help his brothers. This is why he immigrates to Libya, and also he didn't find any suitable job there in Libya that can make him assist his family here. This is what made him think to immigrate to Europe.
Since the 21st April, wreck alone, the Italian Coast Guard and Navy have rescued at least 149 people, but no such rescue came on 21st April.
I will speak to all of the youth, parents, brothers, and every father that he should be keen on his son's life, because if he travels, that means he will cross the sea and put himself in danger, and he will make his father sad.
More than 20,000 migrants or asylum seekers have perished since 2014 and has renewed accusations that European countries are failing to sufficiently help migrant boats in trouble.
And finally, a quick reminder of the top stories. Ethiopian patriots said to have made the country an icon of independence for many other nations. And migrant deaths in the Mediterranean said to mark failings in European Union's policy. And with that, we come to the end of this exhibition in Transport.